devil. Oh, here comes the devil. Oh, here comes the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Shh, look out for the devil. Look out for the devil. Look out for the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I. You're so afraid of old man Satan. Now, why don't you stop your hesitating? You're gonna be a long time dead, so the devil with the devil, says I. You're always giving me the dickens, telling me that life's no easy pickings. But just as long as I have fun, why, the devil with the devil, says I. You can have your social teas and bingo for your fun, but the things I like to do, you stop me one by one. Now even if you make me stronger, that ain't gonna make me live no longer. So even if I go to shh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Look out for the devil, look out for the devil.
Oh, the devil with the devil, says I.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Leo Zagami Show with Leo and Christy. Saturday, September 13th of the year of the Lord 2025. We are live here from Palm Springs, California, with yet another very interesting show. But first of all, let's thank our sponsors, those people who make it possible. And today we will not go into the detail. Usually we mention them one by one. We will leave that for next week, but we want you to know that we thank all of you. So here we are with yet another show. How was your week, Christy?
It was great.
Okay, we are enjoying ourselves, and we are lucky to be with you in all our various platforms, live on Facebook, YouTube, X, Rumble, BitChute, and of course, Panda Video. So the show of today is going to be a little bit controversial, Christy, a little bit controversial, based partly on my book, Confessions of an Illuminati Volume 10, Islamic Freemasonry and the Secret Societies Behind the Eternal Conflict in the Middle East. This book is actually a book that has not been debunked by anybody. Even the Muslims say is correct what I state in this book, and that's quite interesting. But what we're going to be discussing today is rather shocking, so prepare yourself, because explaining what is happening today with the Sharia arriving even here in the United States seems almost unbelievable. And there is a current Muslim invasion of the West, but to actually have places here in America which are filled with Muslim migrants who are obeying not the usual American laws, but actually their own Sharia law. So, I mean, regarding Sharia, for those who don't know it, it is a way whereby the Muslims live, and of course it relates with their own religion. Here in America today we have a lot of Muslims, guys. In my book I stated almost 6 million. Some other sources state 4 or 5 millions, but definitely there is a lot of Muslims in America. The place where you can find more Muslims in total?
New York.
New York. Yes, approximately 724,000 Muslims live in New York. It has the largest Muslim population in the United States. And following New York, we have also California, Illinois. California has approximately 500,000 Muslims. They live in the San Francisco Bay Area. They live also here in Southern California, in the greater Los Angeles area, especially in Orange County. In Illinois, we have also almost 500,000 of them, primarily concentrated in Cook County, in the Chicago suburbs of Bridgeview, Orland Park, Naperville, Lombard, and also in the north side of Chicago. And they have significant communities also in Springfield, always in Illinois. Then we have also New Jersey with around 300,000 Muslims. And then you have Texas. Texas is becoming a place where Muslim communities are found in the major urban centers. And last but not least, Michigan. Now, Michigan in particular is the place that we're going to start with, because in Dearborn, Michigan, that has a large and historically significant Muslim community of Shia Muslims. Now, the interesting thing about Michigan is that there is two towns, Hamtramck, which is Hamtramck. Yeah, it's difficult to spell, which is home to a large Sunni Muslim population. And then you have Dearborn, Michigan, which has this really big Shia community. And in this place, now everybody's talking about it because the Dearborn Heights Police Department has unveiled a police patch with Arabic writings. And this means that we're going the way of the Sharia. And if you see the symbol, the compass and the square, as well as, of course, as a classical symbol you have with the moon and the crescent in Islam, is because Freemasonry is facilitating this invasion, guys. But let me show what the news is actually saying about these people who are living their own reality. And it's going to be very difficult to let them integrate. But this police patch in Arabic is raising particular controversy.
Fox 2, Scott Wolchuk is live now to tell us all about this. And we're talking about a language or ethnicity here.
Yeah, you know what? The language we're talking about is Arabic. This is in Dearborn Heights. There's a new patch that's in production, and it's optional. The police officers don't have to wear this specific patch, but it's getting a good amount of commentary on it. So here, take a look at it. You can see it right there. It was designed by a Dearborn Heights police officer. The whole idea, unity and diversity, right? If you've been to Dearborn Heights, there's a lot of businesses with Arabic written on it, you know, so it's kind of a thing that reflects the community. Of course, not everybody feels that way. I went around town kind of asking people, hey, what do you think about it? One of the first guys I talked to actually spoke Arabic. He could read it. So I asked him, well, what does the Arabic text say?
It says Dearborn Hatis. Dearborn Hatis Shortak. Short. Cool. So I think I got it somewhat right. We have a lot of Middle Eastern community around Dearborn Heights and Dearborn. So I think it's cool that they're introducing it first time, you said, in the United States of America. So I think it's pretty cool.
I guess that's the culture down here is highly Arabic. So I guess it's, you know, in my opinion, I guess it's okay. I mean, like I said, it's different. I don't agree with it, but I don't disagree with it.
It is the first one in the country to have Arabic on it. What do you think?
Wow. Awesome. I wish I knew how to say awesome in Arabic.
Do you think there's probably some haters out there?
Of course. Well, that's everywhere, though.
Well, haters, let me show you a little bit about Dearborn, because, guys, we're talking about a place which is like no other in the United States, where the Shia community is really strong. We have institutions like the Islamic Center of America based there, and we have the oldest and largest Shia mosque in North America. We have also the Karbala Islamic Education Center. I repeat, the Shia Islamic presence in Dearborn is also particularly connected to immigrants of Iraqi descent. That's why they are, of course, Shia. Shia is not the prevalent form of Islam. Sunni is the most prevalent form of Islam. Shia is the one that gives also a lot of importance to the cousin of Prophet Muhammad, Hussein, who married his daughter. They are the ones who usually self-inflict on themselves, you know. This, we see them usually in Iran doing that, or in Iraq, where they have some of their holy cities. We will never imagine, though, that that kind of thing will go on in the United States. And instead, here they are, guys, in the United States, in a situation that mimics very much what we see in the Middle East. This is Michigan. It's not the Middle East. This is Dearborn, where they have finally decided to have this Arabic patch for the local police forces. Local police forces that are now, of course, accused of falling in line with the compliance of the Sharia law. You see also all the flags, of course, Palestinian flags, very much connected also with Hamas. Hamas is Sunni, though Hezbollah, for example, present in Lebanon, is a completely Shia organization, and also Hamas is financed by Iran, as we know. I repeat, everybody's free here in America to follow their own religion, but to see this, it's with the characters like the one we are just seeing here, that looks like out of,
Scary.
It is a little bit scary. The fact also that they are really bringing along with their own tradition also their own laws. And here they are. They are present in Dearborn Heights, going around, and Sharia is, like I said, something that should stay out of the United States of America. Sharia law is considered a parallel legal system, though they say is not. Is a personal conduct for many Muslims, of course, guiding spiritual and ethical behavior within the framework of U.S. law, at the moment at least. And while several states have passed laws banning Sharia, American courts cannot yet enforce any religious laws over constitutional rights. So this is a very precarious situation, guys, at the moment. And that's why I decided today to talk about it, because it seems like we are having a big problem with the integration of Islam. Now, I'm not saying that all the Muslims, of course, are a problem. And a lot of them are peaceful. They are people who work. But because of the fact that they produce so many children, because of the fact that their path to success in America seems to almost be facilitated. Now, at the moment, it's facilitated by a party in particular, which is a Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has managed to bring, I think, at the moment, 4 Muslims in Congress. At the 119th Congress, we have 4 Muslims that currently serve, all in the House of Representatives, and all being, like I said, members of the Democratic Party. Amongst them, of course, there is some individuals that are very despicable. One in particular, which is known because she apparently even married her own brother to give him American citizenship, is Ilhan Omar. She is suddenly worth $30 million. How she made this $30 million is a little bit complex to understand. She represents the state of Minnesota, and she has a salary of less than 200,000. So this 30 million become a little bit, how she made 30 million? Mm-hmm. Who is backing her? Who is behind her? She's totally vehemently anti-Semitic. Now, we know that a lot of people in the so-called alternative media are anti-Semitic at the moment, especially because of what is going on in Gaza. I will remind them that the real enemy at the moment is Islam, the real enemy of the West, that is not integrating, that is creating a lot of problems in countries like, for example, the United Kingdom, countries like Germany, Sweden, France. Europe is already at the next level of, let's say, of not being able to integrate them. So it's good to maybe listen to what is happening in Europe, because of course they are also bordering with a lot of Muslim countries. But to see Dearborn with this kind of marching delirium. Flags of Palestine, of course, and these people very much for the liberation of Gaza, sustaining what they think is the right thing to do with their own ideas that are unfortunately becoming also the ideas of a great chunk of Americans that are following into this anti-Semitic behavior. What's your idea, Christy? I mean, it's quite shocking, you know?
I don't know. At this point, I'm not very shocked.
You're not very shocked, eh? Not very shocked. Well, let me...
I mean, it is a shocking thing.
I mean,
but lots of shocking things are happening, so...
This is what is happening in Great Britain.
Good evening, welcome along. It's time to sack Home Office staff. Home Office advisors looked at the Southport incident and used it as an opportunity to downplay Islamist extremism and class more people as far right. They spent 5 months writing a report into the counter-terror program.
So it's always like this. They downplay the Muslim problem, the Islamic expansion. And from my own personal experience, and I explain this in the book, they present themselves as very peaceful, and they don't present themselves as a threat. But when you actually speak with them, within their own families, their inner circles, they want to raise the flag of Islam in Washington, D.C., in Rome, in London. They have already done that because the mayor is Muslim, and because most of the mayors in the United Kingdom are Muslims. We can say that the United Kingdom is already a foreign nation. And this is a big problem, of course. In Hamtramck, which is instead the Sunni city, the slaughtering of animals done in a certain way also is creating a certain controversy.
Joins us now with more. Charlie, break it down for us.
Well, I'll tell you what, there was quite a discussion about animal sacrifices for religious ceremonies in Hamtramck. In fact, the city council brought out a lot of people, both for and against. But I had a chance to go to Hamtramck and kind of get a little feel for what this is really all about. Take a look. Do you think, though, now that it's legal in Hamtramck to sacrifice the animal, that people will be doing it in their backyard?
Yeah, we do it.
Would you do it?
Yeah.
I don't think that's okay, because where the blood is gonna go.
Instead of going like an hour away to to the farm, they can do it at the house.
My opinion is not safe.
But so you sacrifice the animal every Eid al-Adha.
And then you come back and eat it.
With the family. It's like a turkey day. Yeah.
Like Thanksgiving.
Yeah, like Thanksgiving.
But there does appear to be a state law that allows animal sacrifices for religious purposes, and the Hamtramck City Council knew this.
There's no way we can ban it. There's no way we can prohibit people from practicing it.
Yet people in the audience had very different opinions about sacrificing animals.
It's very hard for DPW. They're going to go crazy about this. They cannot control this. No way.
You could go to New York City to have Yom Kippur celebration for the Jewish people of the Jewish faith. On the streets, on the sidewalk, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of chicken. They slaughter it not even in their houses, on the public street.
Keep it down, please. Keep it down, please.
So despite all of the controversy and the opinions back and forth in the city council, it was approved. It was close, but it was approved. So here's what you have to do. If you want to slaughter an animal for a religious purpose at your house, you have to notify the clerk at least a week in advance. And then the clerk afterwards will, or someone from the city will have to come out and make sure you clean up everything, and you must make sure that it's not open to public view. They had some penalties in the ordinance. First reading, they got rid of the penalties though. So this is really a religious ceremony. And what's interesting about Hamtramck is for years it was banned. But now we have an all-Muslim council and mayor, and this is a kind of a ritual in the Muslim community.
What about manpower, though? I mean, to say you got to put this paperwork through, you got to make sure that it's done at a certain time, and then you got to make sure that when you do it, that they come check it out. I mean, who are these workers who are going out to do this, and do they have the resources?
Well, I don't know. And the other issue is this going to be that popular? A lot of the people believe in this holiday. It's called, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Idol Azah. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's the feast. It's called the Feast of Sacrifice. And I probably did not pronounce that correctly. But when the Muslims, when Abraham in the Old Testament said you don't have to sacrifice your son, you can sacrifice an animal. So this goes way, way back in tradition for Muslims. But many today, they go to a slaughterhouse.
Right.
And then they kill the animal for halal purposes during that way, and then bring the meat home. And then you use the whole animal. You give some to the poor, some to the family, some to neighbors, that type of thing.
And that I feel like wasn't really, and you made it clear in that story, but all along, maybe people aren't really getting the whole story. This is something that would happen perhaps at a facility. They're still eating the animal, but it's also done for religious purposes at the same time.
And that's true. And there seems to be a small minority of people, though, in Hamtramck that do want to have the slaughter at their house. Because I guess that's what they did back in the olden times, and they want to continue the tradition. Now they can legally, assuming they have a couple of little rules in Hamtramck.
Okay, so we don't want to be bigots here, but it's pretty clear that Islam doesn't fit in our Western world. Their traditions are somehow barbaric. Then whoever says the contrary is obviously an hypocrite. And I can tell you from my own personal experience that even in Europe, even in places with a large Muslim population, this is not permitted because, yes, they might do the slaughter in a slaughterhouse through the halal tradition methods, but to actually be able to actually do it in your own garden or your own, I mean, it's pretty shocking. And here in America, of course, everything is connected to the freedom of religion. We understand that. But going back to the connection with Freemasonry, Freemasonry has a connection with Islam. For example, in my book here, I explain how it was actually a Freemason connected with John Yarker, who is a very known Freemason connected with Aleister Crowley, who himself was called William Henry William, also known as Abdullah William, who opened the first mosque in the United Kingdom. So this is a direct connection. It's not just a connection up in the air. Muslims participate here in Freemasonry in the United States. In Volume 3 of my Confessions, I discussed also how the genealogy of Colorado was particularly close with a certain Freemason, and I also talk about it here in Volume 10. And you have, of course, bilingual lodges that place the Quran rather than a Bible on the altar of the lodge. And you have also here in America, you already had the first Muslim grandmaster from an American jurisdiction, Tizan Dawood, who is been the grandmaster of a Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New Jersey. Now, the first Muslims to arrive here in America were, of course, the slaves. Some of the slaves brought here in America were Muslims, and that's how it started. Then, of course, you have also another kind of Masonic tradition, the Moorish temple that also is very popular here in America. So, I mean, the Muslims have always had a presence. Moorish Science Temple of America was, though, very much connected with Freemasonry, with the initiatic, let's say, world, and this noble Drew Ali, who was born as Timothy Drew in the early 20th century, ended up establishing maybe one of the most, of the first formal outlets for a sort of Islam, which wasn't really the most traditional form of Islam, though. We are definitely witnessing some great changes in our society, Christy. You are American. Of course, I have become American. How compatible is this with the average American Jew?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Why?
It would make people uncomfortable. People aren't used to that, you know, and we don't do that in this country. We don't sacrifice animals, and I don't think that anybody should do it. So
now we have also woke Black Lives Matter Muslims in this country, and a former illegal immigrant who was also present on the Boston City Council, has been recently sent to prison for corruption. Corruption seems to be very much present in this Islamic world. I'm not saying that all Muslims are crooks, but definitely there is those Muslims who think they can take advantage of this system. That's the problem. And I saw it with my own eyes, even in Norway. They know that because of the naivety of the Western world, they can maybe take control of the situation in a way they will not do in their own country. And this is very sad, but it's a reality. So we don't want to end up in a conflict with Islam, because there is already various, like I said here, there's already 4, 6 million individuals in this country. I mean, it's a lot of people. So a conflict, when you see these images from Dearborn, Michigan, you understand that these people are present now. How integrated they are, though, because they don't want to transform. Islam didn't go through the same procedure of, like from the medieval times, Christianity then went on into the Renaissance and then kind of transformed itself, and then we modernized everything. I'm not saying that everything was great in the modernization of our Western society, but this is, of course, something that is connected with a different approach that is very far from our own. So, what is your take when you see these images, the Palestinian flag raised in American cities, the way of?
I don't like it. I think it's terrible.
It gives you a strange feeling. And also, we don't want to end up in the same situation as, for example, our British friends, because there the situation with the Muslims having taken over almost the whole of the country is not the great.
Bricks hurtled towards a mosque a hotel housing asylum seekers set alight, Muslim-owned shops ransacked, and Muslim graves vandalized are part of the Islamophobic violence that has gripped the UK. And
so now, it's about Islamophobic. I mean, Islamophobic violence. We know, of course, that this Islamophobic violence is being created by something. It's not that it just came out of nowhere. There is been a reason behind this. People say that the UK suddenly is becoming Islamophobic. But the fact is, these people haven't lived in the suburbs of London or Birmingham or many other English cities where these people have literally transformed parts of these once glorious English towns into, I don't know what, I mean, Sharia control areas where the law of Sharia is actually implemented in a very, very strict fashion. So when I see Al Jazeera a week ago publishing an article like this, UK Muslim report vandalism, attacks amid controversial flag campaign, the thing is that the Brits are hurt. And so it's true, they are going now after the Muslims, and it's not a pleasant thing. Maybe the Muslims should have integrated a little bit better. And I have actually warned about that for a very long time. You remember me, even when we went to London, you had this immediate experience of Islam. Isn't that the case, Christy? You were pretty shocked when you went there the first time.
Well, it was the first time I had been to England, and I was expecting something else, like what you see on TV, and it wasn't like that.
Here it says
like that at all. So.
Yeah. Well, it has really changed. Like, you don't have the pub on the corner anymore. You have rather a halal butcher or a shop selling halal meat. You have a Islamic shop rather than the traditional British guy. I mean, we are now, after months of citizen protest, the UK is actually going to close part of the migrant hotels and move the illegals in military barracks. But you have basically the majority of Muslims in England who are actually English citizens, who are integrated, who have transformed the English society. I wrote the following, which I would like Christy to read in volume 10 of my Confessions.
Regarding Great Britain, they are already beyond any reasonable point of recovery, even after Brexit had their borders sealed from the largely progressive politics of the policies of the EU. As a large-scale immigration of Muslims into Britain began much earlier for them, immediately after World War II. Because of the destruction and labor shortages caused by the war, Muslim migrants from former British colonies were immediately welcomed to rebuild their country in ruins, and they were welcomed from the very start with a sense of guilt from the now former British imperialists who generated the problem in the first place. Of course, Britain's level of Muslim integration seems, at least to the superficial eye, much better than the one achieved in continental Europe. However, the reality that the United Kingdom is on its way to becoming a full-on Muslim country, which means newly found success of the protocols.
Yes, here I mentioned the protocols of the Sages of Zion, which of course I talk about in the last chapter of this book as a Sabbatean Frankist creation. It seems though the Sabbatean Frankists who were involved, in fact, with John Yarker, through the Asian Brethren, the Sad Baha'i, and all that. Somehow they have facilitated, and even Aleister Crowley, as I explained in this book, was fascinated with Islam. Mm-hmm. It's like the British Freemasons have almost helped this invasion by culturally supported in the first place. And so in my book, I explained that if the current trends continue, Muslims will make up 26.4% population of the world's total projected population of 8.3 billion in 2030. And I also say in volume 10 that the UK Muslim population is set to rise from 2.9 billion now to 5.6 in 2030. Because they procreate, they're very much with the 5-10 kids each family. This doesn't happen anymore in our own, between bracket Christian or Judeo-Christian environment. Mostly because they have pushed us to not do kids anymore.
Except for the Mormons, they have a lot of kids.
Yeah, but now this means a lot of problems, and it's sad to see that our society basically is inevitably gonna fall, and they definitely gonna take control of the show.
It's having an effect. More than 70% of Muslims say Islamophobia has increased.
So they say that Islamophobia has increased, no, but Islamophobia has increased. The problem is why it has increased. To simply justify everything with the hate of a bunch of bigots is not really cutting it for me, because there is a lot more reasons here. And at the moment, let me just give you an idea of what is happening around Europe, aside from the United States, where we already seen a couple of the cities that, by the way, have voted also in large majority because of the religious leaders for Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump has accepted this vote, and in a way has compromised itself by, I mean, of course, everybody can accept the vote of anybody, I guess, but the fact that there was this large percentage of the Muslim population that supported Donald J. Trump, and now Donald J. Trump should work on the integration of these people, when instead nobody talks about them. And it actually, it happens that the first generation that arrives here in the United States is not probably the one that's going to create problems, because they want to work, they want to give a future to their kids. We have seen and noticed in France, in England, that is the second, third, or fourth generation of these immigrants who have not managed to fully integrate, because in the end they stay in their ghettos, in their suburbs for the rest of their life, and it's there where they get actually recruited by the fundamentalist forces, the Salafis, who at that point can bring them to Al-Qaeda or ISIS or any other terrorist group very easily. They can get recruited in this kind of situation. And we had, of course, people like Barack Hussein Obama, who facilitated very much this process. We also had, though, the neocons, because after 9/11, it was actually, you will not imagine that the Muslims will actually come here in greater numbers. Yeah, but if you go and see the numbers of immigrants from Muslim countries in 2004 and 2005, they multiplied in a way that was unexpected, because not only they, people initially were very skeptical about the Muslims after what happened with 9/11. And it might not have been totally their fault, because we know there was a collusion of forces, of dark forces, between the Western Illuminati and the Middle Eastern Illuminati to make that possible. However, rather than diminishing the immigration, they become the first countries for obtaining green cards in between 2004 and 2005. This became quite obvious. So the Muslims, of course, get integrated, and it's easier for them to integrate because they have the support, like I said, of Freemasonry. Here, when I started to go into the local lodges, when I just arrived here in the United States, and for a brief period I went through a couple of lodges to see how was the situation in California. They told me that aside from the occult element, which is starting to rise, the one, of course, close to Aleister Crowley or other occultists, there was a very large Muslim presence. So it's a kind of a paradox, because you could find the drag queen as well as the Muslim in a lodge of Freemasonry. It doesn't make any sense. That's how it is. Now, in Germany, over half of Berlin's new police recruits need language training. We know that at the time Angela Merkel, the former chancellor, let millions of Syrians into Germany, and that often their crimes were not reported. Now, the incredible thing is that they are actually employing them as policemen. And another interesting thing is that when these policemen eventually arrest these immigrants, they are forced into report to the authorities, officially report them as Germans, not as immigrants. So this makes it easy for the widespread leftist nonsense to continue saying, "Oh, it's the Germans continue having a high crime rate." See what it says here?
I'm supposed to register them as Germans? That makes me feel like a liar. German police officer blows whistle on migrant crime cover-up in police stats.
So this is how it works. It's shocking. It's really shocking. And this is what is happening in Germany. And at the German elections recently, we have really a big problem in Germany, because the representatives of Alternative for Deutschland, these candidates of Germany's right-wing party, at least describe it as a right-wing, are dying, are being killed. Now, a total of 7 in recent weeks have met their creator without really the authorities explaining why this is happening. So it's like in Germany, they are eliminating the possibility that the far right, that is rising in numbers and becoming a real threat for the system, might emerge, because they are literally killing their representatives. It's insane, but this is what is happening. And we saw, of course, what happened in the UK. We described it, but then you have also Sweden. Sweden was a very tranquil place, I mean, Sweden was a place in the 70s. It was all about the Swedish porn or the Swedish ABBA. How is it? The group ABBA, no? ABBA, singing. Let's say that they're.
You think of blondes with braids.
Yeah. A very innocent culture, by the way. I lived in Scandinavia many years, as you know, and it's a very innocent culture. And suddenly things started to change. And I must say, in Norway, they probably managed to integrate them a little bit better, because completely outside of the EU, completely outside of any, they forced them into accepting the Norwegian culture by forcibly integrating them in their parades, in their things, in their language. Though I must say that even in Norway, there were certain areas of Oslo that were starting to become a little bit of a Muslim ghetto. But in Sweden, it's much worse. Of course, I'm not saying that Norway is better, because I haven't been there for a long time. Maybe now even there. The problem I noticed was that even when I was living there, a lot of gangs were connected to the Pakistani, for example, and that is, of course, Islamic. In Sweden, they have taken over the country, basically. They are facing significant problems associated with Islamic immigration, this increased gang violence. There is areas which are off limits even to the police at this point. And this then transforms into an anti-immigrant sentiment, which is, of course, amplified by, it amplifies the far-right political party's potential, just like we said in Germany. So tensions are growing over the cultural and national identity of Sweden, and the predominantly Muslim asylum seekers are the majority of the immigrants. A large influx of them has completely transformed Sweden, and they were always too generous in their immigration policies. I want to give you an example, and this was personal, because when I went to apply for citizenship in Norway, I was surrounded by Muslims. I remember queuing there at 6 o'clock early in the morning. It was, I think, the year 2003. And I had, they gave the citizenship to almost all the people who applied with me, and not me, because I was a European. Because I was European, I was not given Norwegian citizenship. Even later, when I had a child who was Norwegian, I wasn't given Norwegian citizenship because I was Italian. If I was from Iraq, from Turkey, from some Arabic, any other Arabic country, I would be given that Norwegian citizenship. It's insane. That is insane. That is meaning that if you emigrate from France or from Italy or from another country to Norway, you have less possibilities of making it, because you will never be granted the citizenship, than these people. I think that's insane. What do you think, Casey?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Some Americans would think that, it was already Europe, Norway. I mean, it's
out of the European community, European Union, sorry, and it's part of Schengen in the past, has integrated in some way, but it's always out of the. So in any case,
so what's the reasoning?
It's like Switzerland that is not Switzerland is not part of the EU. So I wanted the passport that wasn't EU, but I also want to live in a country where I was granted citizenship, because I had worked for many years in that country. I thought I could actually get that citizenship. And a lot of people said, don't worry, they give it to everybody. Yes, they give it to everybody who is not European. In Sweden, spread of gang violence wrecks Sweden's peaceful image, you see? And gangland shootings, bombings, plagued Sweden's biggest cities.
And the women, they get
they get, of course, raped.
It's really hard on the women, and in Germany too.
Very much, absolutely, because they have no respect, and the police and the system is actually protecting this immense chaos. This is protecting this whole thing, and if you say something, you are accused of Islamophobia. You are not able to say anything. So it makes it very difficult for people, Now, I repeat, it's because they have been let into the West more and more, and the way they have been let into the West, people think that this is acceptable, that they will not create any problem because they are hard workers. And they are hard workers. Absolutely. They focus on their family, on working, on doing things that the Western people, because of all the brainwashing we had in the last few decades by this increasingly progressive and degenerate society, they have, promoted abortion since the 60s and 70s, pushed it as the normalization of abortion, pushing every value that is contrary to what we were as Christians. this is something that we need to discuss. Though, if you do actually a poll, I would say a poll, and you ask people, then the answers might be kind of surprising. In England, more than half of Tory members said that Islam is a threat to the British way of life. They have finally understood that. And they have understood that, but it's very difficult to do anything in a country that now has basically the majority of, I mean, it's almost impossible. There is, the thing is this, they have destroyed our Christian values. They have, destroyed the image of Jesus, ridiculed the image of Jesus. But if I dare saying something about Prophet Muhammad, they will come and hunt you down and they will burn your house, or, you cannot say anything about Prophet Muhammad. If I ban the Bible, nothing happens. They do it even on music videos. Pages of the Bible get, I remember years ago, I remember this video where I saw pages of the Bible being lit in a music video. If you do that to the Quran, you will not be able to even go around anymore. I mean, we know what happened to Salman Rushdie with his satanic verses, with his book. He basically, after decades, while he was giving a conference, they knifed him and he lost his eye. It's insane.
They ignored the fact that Islamists are responsible for 95% of terror-related deaths since 1999 and 88% of injuries. And they decided to class jihadi terror at the same level as the Movement for Sikh Independence and the Earth Liberation Front. At the same time, they wanted people who dare to mention two-tier policing or, hey, taxpayers' money spent on migrant hotels to be classed as far right. They said that Pakistani rape gangs were alleged grooming gangs, and they only mentioned them in the context of far-right people using them to whip up racial hatred. They are a disgrace and should be sacked for that alone, in my view.
And Tommy Robinson, who denounced those grooming gangs in and out of prison, now finally it seems like maybe they are changing their mind in regards to giving them hotels, and the Defense Secretary John Healey just said this.
It's going to make is that I think you'll start to see Keir Starmer insist that dealing with the small boats, solving the illegal immigration crisis, is part of the job for the whole of government, not just the Home Office. So with the Home Office, I have been putting military planners into their border command and into their planning for the future. And we are looking at the potential use of military and non-military use sites for temporary accommodation for the people who come across on these small boats that may not have a right to be here or need to be processed rapidly before we can decide whether or not they should stay or whether or not we deport them like we have done in record numbers over the last year.
I'm hearing that as a yes, there will be military facilities used. Can we expect to see that before the end of the year?
So those are decisions we haven't taken yet, but it's work we're doing at the moment, and we're doing it jointly with the Home Office.
So in England, in Great Britain, they want to finally put them in military camps before maybe deporting them or processing their eventual possibility of staying in the country. However, they get accused from the Muslim media of Islamophobia all the time in England.
60% feeling at risk of harm. 4 in 10 say they feel their mosque could also be at risk. And 1 in 3 say they've had enough and want to leave the UK.
Oh, well, they want to leave the UK. Wow, maybe they finally leave.
Muslims, that comes from pure ignorance. You know, they don't know about Islam. They don't know, what we truly believe. And so they just feed off the media. You know, they believe what the media tells them, and that drives.
Now, the thing is, I know what Islam is about. You read this book, and this book has been even endorsed by a sheikh who couldn't really debunk it in any way because I stick to the facts. And this is very important. So I suggest you all read the volume 10 of my Confessions. It's an objective take on things. Of course, I'm personally somebody who has suffered because of Islam. Islam and the people of Islam have taken my child, who they still keep, and I will probably never see because now he has reached the age of 19 years of age. He has never contacted me. They probably brainwashed him in favor of a view that demonizes Leo Zagami, because Leo Zagami doesn't accept the Quran, or Leo Zagami doesn't accept their Muslim ways. Well, the thing is that they don't integrate, and it's either their way or is no way. That is the truth. And you can be fooled by them if you don't have a direct relationship with them. But once you start really knowing them and what they say behind the scenes about the rest of the society, and how they look down on the rest of the society, like, we are Muslims, we are better than them, they are kafir or whatever, they are sinners, they are people who don't deserve anything better in their life because they don't have Allah, they don't have Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all the rest. Now, guys, it's a problem because maybe in the initial stages, this immigration in some way might be acceptable, but then you will see that they will go further, and it's going to be very difficult.
So I'm here in a town called Hamtramck. It's just north of Detroit, and it's famous locally and even internationally for being basically a Muslim majority enclave in the United States. There's been a massive influx of Arab, particularly Yemeni, immigration to this area. There's also a lot of Bangladeshi Muslims as well, among other Arabs. And, there's been a lot of changes here. There's a massive Muslim influence now, a lot of Islamic masjids around. There's even a public call to prayer that can be heard 5 times a day. And the fact is you can see hijabs everywhere, burqas, brothers with beards, mashallah, there's Yemeni shops everywhere. And, we always hear all the time about how, Muslim immigration is bad, it's evil, it's going to destroy Western society. Well, Muslims, if I'm going to be frank, have basically taken over here in so many words, culturally speaking. But I've spoken to officials here.
Well, this guy comes from England here to the US and has a positive view of the whole thing. Who's paying him?
It's done nothing but enrich this local community.
Ooh.
Get better.
Ooh.
Has it turned into a third world shithole? No, it's a beautiful part of America where there's good food, good atmosphere, and everyone gets along absolutely.
Okay, so we hope that's the truth. But if it goes the other way, that's the thing, you see. It's very pleasant at the beginning, even, this cultural enrichment, the possibility to have good food, to have, it's nice, you have a different, but then it's like, showing you, the nice things and then tricking you into believing something when in reality they're about to stab you in the back. So, I hope I'm wrong here. I hope that we are on the road to integration. I hope that even in my book, Confessions of an Illuminati Volume 10, but we need to be aware of this culture. The fact that the ordinary American doesn't have an idea or knows the difference about Shia and Sunni, and so they don't know that what goes on in Dearborn is different from what goes in that other town. How it's called?
I don't know.
Yes, which Amtrak. It gives you an idea that we need to really understand, the different ways of Islam, and we have to also tell them you need to integrate and to actually demand the local authorities to slaughter an animal in your garden. It's not really the way, guys. You can simply have an halal slaughterhouse and do it there. You don't have to invade completely the American way and transform it into an Islamic country. Because if in the end your objective is to raise the flag of Islam on the White House, well, then that's not really something I think the majority of Americans are going to accept. Isn't that the case?
No.
I mean, you can be fooled.
And I have to say, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
Well, why don't you go back to Great Britain, my friend, if you are loving it?
It's a problem. For sure, media did not play a good part, especially from last year when the Gaza conflict happened. I felt like they spreaded false information.
Yeah, well, Gaza is full of false information also from Hamas, not only from the Israeli side. And it's really like truth is the first victim of war. That's what they always say. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed today's broadcast. Christian, I want to thank once again the court sponsors who have permitted this show. Next week, we will address them all name by name. I advise you to, of course, get a copy of volume 10 of my Confessions, as well, though, as the Zagami family cookbook, which is, it's not halal. I mean, there is some pork. There is also vegetarian stuff. There is a lot of stuff here. It's very good. But you have also sausage and peppers that the Muslims can't eat. Whatever. In any case, Zagami Family Cookbook, authentic Italian cooking. Now, in regards to my identity, I'm Sicilian. We had the Muslims for free, or, like I described in this book, for a few centuries in Sicily. We kicked out their asses out of Sicily, and we protected Europe for hundreds of years from the Muslim invasion because we were bordering with them. So we are the guardians of the Christian faith more than any others. Unfortunately, they left their most hideous legacy, which is the mafia. I explained that in volume 10 of my Confessions. But we are tough. You know that. And so, yeah, but this was something I wanted to say at the end because, I had Islamic ancestors. I have been in the Middle East. I have a direct experience. I'm not just somebody who stays here behind the keyboard and becomes Islamophobic. I have my own idea. They can't integrate in the Western world, and I think that sooner or later we're going to regret what is happening with... but I hope not. I pray for a positive outcome. Isn't that a good thing to say? Mm-hmm. Okay, so God bless you all. Christy, you want to say something else to our audience before we leave?
Bon weekend.
Enjoy this great weekend, and I see you next week with Christy for another great show. In the meantime, we dance to Vincenzo Viceversa's Medieval.
In that time, our world has taken so many steps in the wrong direction.
Yes, the rights of women are not really a big thing for the Muslims. Maybe they should modernize their religion. Just a suggestion.
In the negative utopia, social organization, dehumanization, in the negative utopia, science, technology, social organization.
Whoa!
Technology, social organization, dehumanization. Technology, social organization.